Hello guys and welcome back to DarkHorse FM, and currently, I took a little trip to Russia, and as promised I am managing Krasnodar. And if you recall, if you're not aware of this anyway, or probably I'm saying it too late, but Daniel Farke has joined Krasnodar in Russia. So the former Norwich City manager is now the manager of Krasnodar in the Russian league. So today's video, I'm going to share with you the tactic that made Daniel Farke so famous with Norwich City. The successful tactic is similar to the Gegenpressing tactic that Jurgen Klopp uses for Liverpool, but since Daniel Farke is German, I have to assume that most German managers prefer using a Gegenpressing style of play. But we're going to try and recreate Norwich City's tactic Norwich City's tactic while they were under Daniel Farke. We're going to see how it works out with Krasnodar, because Krasnodar is a new team that Daniel Farke is now managing. So we're going to see how successful they turn out with the tactic as well. So remember guys, if you're new to the channel, remember to leave a like in the video and also to subscribe to the channel to get notifications when new videos come up, because I normally make videos like this and I always go for teams that are not really famous in Football Manager, teams that are not really the elite teams in modern football anyway. So those are the teams I manage on DarkHorse FM. Occasionally I still use the big teams when I want to have some fun, but I'm trying to figure out when there's time for that. There's always one team to bring to glory and in some corner of Europe, or indeed South America, Asia, Northern America at some point. So always good for all the other teams anyway. Back to the tactic. And Daniel Farke's philosophy, from what I noticed in Norwich City's system, is literally Norwich City's philosophy I'm trying to recreate here for Krasnodar, using what Daniel Farke used when he was at Norwich. So I'm trying to recreate the tactic. When he was at Norwich City often played with a 4-2-3-1, as you can see the way we set up here as a 4-2-3-1 as well. But the key attribute in what made this 4-2-3-1 really successful, what I did in my research and what I checked from other people as well, is that Norwich City tend to play with a box in midfield. The box in midfield is sometimes, or is often consistent of, that has to be correct English, right? I hope so. But the box in midfield consists of certain four key players. That's the central defenders and the two central midfielders. They form a box in midfield, and the reason why this box is formed is because the two wide fullbacks, the two wide players that in this role I set to be complete wing backs, and I'll explain why much later. These players are all the way up they're all the way high in this region, so it's technically what did I just do? You have to bring this guy back. Thank you. So both players, these two wide players, the two wide fullbacks, always go high up, and leaving the central midfielders and the central defenders to be like the main block of defense. So the central midfielder in this role doesn't really venture too far forward. Norwich City play with a high pressing style of play where they press from the front, but when they're pressing, the main emphasis on pressing is usually tied to the central attacking midfielder. If you recall, in Norwich City when Daniel Farke was in charge, this player was Buendia. Buendia played in the central attacking midfield as well, and he was responsible for doing a lot of pressing. All the other players around him will press as well. The two inverted wingers will also press, and then the striker as well will also press. The central midfielders as well will press if the ball gets in their region. But the main guy that really does a lot of pressing is the central attacking midfielder, as you can see in this setup. The central defenders, I opted for one ball playing defender and one central defender. The ball playing defender, if you recall, was Grant Hanley at the time. Normally I can use both players as two central defenders, but just because I'm using Krasnodar and I always enjoy having one creative defender on the right hand side, I'm using a ball playing defender on the right hand side. You can use two central defenders or indeed two ball playing defenders. It will not really make much difference. I'm going to tell you where Daniel Farke's philosophy really stands out. So we'll go through the player roles. First of all, we'll start with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper has a super keeper instruction on support duty, and there are no instructions attached to him. The wide defender on the right hand side, the fullback on the right, is a complete wing back on attack duty. This player has close down more, take more risks, tackle harder, and mark tighter. The reason why I included take more risks in this tactic because I wanted one player to actually play through balls into my strikers, to actually be more creative and then create chances for them. If you notice, this player was usually Max Aarons for Norwich City at the time. It's one of the wonder kids I normally sign in Football Manager, and indeed in FIFA as well. I actually enjoy using Max Aarons. So the central defender and the central defensive midfield position, the central defender position. Oh my God, what's wrong with me today? The central defender position is one ball playing defender and one central defender. No instructions whatsoever for these two players. And then the wide the left back is a complete wing back on support duty. He is also asked to close down more, tackle harder, and mark tighter. The central midfielder is one ball playing defender, and then there's one ball winning midfielder. Why did I say ball playing midfielder? One ball winning midfielder and one central midfielder. The reason why I opted for one central midfielder so this player can actually hold his position is different from using a deep line playmaker on support, because I know the deep line playmaker is indeed more creative, but that makes it defend the deep line playmaker. I noticed the player tends to drop deep, so that makes this player drop far below where I want him to be, and it may not be a box, so I might end up having a kind of rhomboid or trapezoidal shape, and that's really not what I want. So I want the central midfielder to stay in his position and hold that position and then pass it shorter. The ball winning midfielder, yes, is also one instruction: pass it shorter. The inverted wingers in Norwich City's system, the inverted wingers were always very narrow, so this created space for the wide players to get up ahead of them. Using inverted wingers as opposed to inside forwards, it's the sense that I realize inside forward normally cut inside a lot, so that's why I use inverted wingers. I have some vertical cut inside, because I need to actually confirm that yes, inside forward, although they do cut inside, they will get into the box a lot because they are playing like alternative wide strikers. So using inverted wing back allow me to have that lateral movement between the inverted wingers, and then taking the space left behind by Emi Buendia, which is our central attacking midfielder. So I used one inverted winger on attack duty, one inverted winger on support duty. As you can see, both of them have identical instructions: pass it shorter, sit narrower, and close down more. The advanced playmaker, the central attacking midfielder, is an advanced playmaker on attack duty. This player does much more of the pressing. He's also asked to close down more, roam from positions, tackle harder, and mark tighter. I wanted to include take more risks. If I was using an attacking midfielder, a regular attacking midfielder, I would have included take more risks instruction. But since he's an advanced playmaker on attack duty, he has been asked by default to take more risk. The reason why I'm opting for attack duty because there's a key relationship between the attacking midfielder and the striker in Daniel Farke's philosophy. The striker, as much as he's playing as an advanced forward in a way, you can see that I'm using a deep line forward. Teemu Pukki was Norwich City striker and he scored a lot of goals using this system. Currently there are no instructions for deep line playmaker, but using Teemu Pukki in this role, Norwich City's system involved Pukki roaming around the central area looking for ideal pockets of space to try and score goals, but he also used to create chances for his opponent, he also used to create chances for his teammates as well, dropping into space, allowing room for Buendia to actually get forward. So in the thought, it could be that Buendia played as a shadow striker, but that's not really the case because Buendia was still the ideal focal point of creativity, the focal point of where attack was built up from. So that's why I opted for the advanced playmaker on attack. If I use the shadow striker, it's going to mean the player will not ideally be the source of attack where things go from. He's probably going to be a finisher, which is not what Buendia was. He was more of a creative player with an attacking sense. Over to the team instructions, then we can see that the team has been asked to press more often, not relentlessly, just to engage the opposition enough to win the ball back early. The defensive line is also higher with a much higher line of engagement as well. The team has not been asked to mark tighter in any way. There are no other instructions. Also, the team has been asked to defend narrowly. That's because Norwich City tend to compress the field a bit and then be more to try and close down spaces in between the central midfield position, try and outnumber the opposition in the middle of the field and win the ball back early. They also another reason why I'm opting for defending narrow is because the team plays in a very vertical style of play. We're going to look through that when we're going to in transition and in possession of the ball. When the team is in possession, the team has also been asked to counter press, like also I described in Norwich City's philosophy with Daniel Farke. It is to counter press and then to counter when the ball has been won. The goalkeeper has also been asked to distribute it quickly. That's why I opted for a super keeper on support duty as opposed to defend. In possession, the team has a fairly wide width. Attacking width is fairly wide. This is because the fullbacks, the complete wingbacks that are playing in the fullback positions, will obviously get higher up the pitch and they're going to play out wide. The inverted wingers that are playing in a higher position will cut inside into vertical areas, leaving room for the complete wingbacks to actually get forward. So the wider the pitch is, the more you can actually create more spaces for the opposition for you to actually break down the opposition. But Norwich City, you would notice, even though the width is wide, the team still plays through the middle because Buendia is a key point of attack. And when the width has been spread out wide, taking advantage of the inverted wingers cutting inside and then the fullbacks or the complete wingbacks overlapping, that creates a lot of room in the middle for the attackers and the central attacking midfielder as well to actually exploit the space. the team has been asked to pass into space as well. And in Norwich City's transition mode, the team's passing is really, really short. They retain possession a lot while moving the ball quickly from back to front. That's why I opted for much shorter passing and a much higher tempo when moving the ball forward. The team also runs at defense a lot. There's a lot of dribbling and a lot of roaming from positions. That's why I opted for run at defense. And then expressive and disciplined, this part is also tricky. You can choose to turn this on or you can choose to turn it off, but I left this blank, so in case in between games if it was getting tricky, I can turn it on if I want. And then also because Norwich City actually tend to retain possession, I included the walk the ball into the box option to try and be more creative when teams are trying to sit deep. The general mentality for the team is attacking. I opted for attacking as opposed to positive because I know positive is slightly slower, even though in the game there's going to be a sense of, oh my god, I might have to change this to positive. But we're going to see how the season goes, and we're going to see how during the season what changes I do make to the tactic. And currently I'm using an attacking mentality and it's working so well, but if it gets to the point where I actually need to switch this down to positive, I'll let you know, obviously. And then, but till then, the current mentality is attacking, because considering Norwich, the way Norwich played when they were in the Championship, they did score a lot of goals, and then they did overpower some teams, and they did. The main point is they did score a lot of goals. And if you're playing on positive mentality, yes, you will dominate games and then you will score goals, but it's not as dominating as, and it's not as free scoring as when you're using an attacking mentality. That's why I opted for an attacking mentality. So guys, we're back on the 1st of January 2022, and currently in the league I can see that Krasnodar, well, so far so good. We are first with a higher goal difference than CSK Moscow. CSK Moscow is second on the table. I'm looking at the team stats right now, and I can see that we have scored 34 goals, and currently the team with the most goals is 36. So that's Lokomotiv and Dynamo Moscow. They scored more goals than we have. We've also considered the fewest goals, so probably it's unique to see how the schedule has gone up so far. We haven't lost that many games, but then we lost to Zenit St. Petersburg, but there are a few draws in there to Dynamo Moscow and then Rostov once again. But then we've had a fair run of good wins, and 5-0 against Dolgorbundy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But we're going to still go to the end of the season and see how it is. But so far so good. The tactics seems to be working. Even though Krasnodar was predicted to finish fourth on the table, we're first, and then we've lost just one game, which is to Zenit St. Petersburg. So far so good. Daniel Farke's tactic is going well with Krasnodar. The next thing I want to ideally point out is that I think I have compromised my tactic in a way. If you see down in this corner in the transfer tab, a lot of my players have been getting requests from other clubs to actually sign them. Like Sergei Petrov is my one right back, my complete wing back on the right hand side. He's 30 years old, and I'm looking at Krasnodar's team. They actually have a good youth system and a good team. What's the word I'm going to use? A good youth financial rating. That's the perfect way to explain what I'm trying to say. Krasnodar actually has a good youth financial rating. If I can just find the club. Okay, I think I was there before now. Yeah, facilities. Looking at Krasnodar for a team in the Russian league, they have a state-of-the-art youth facilities and excellent training facilities as well. So I want to dive into youth players to try and bring more players from the youth system. So Sergei Petrov, looking at the transfer hubs, I'm going to actually sell Sergei Petrov. So my tactic is going to be compromised, and I might sell the centre half as well. He's 28, and these two players, 30 years old and 28 years old. And also Remy Cabella. These are like my three key players. So there's going to be a problem actually selling all these guys, and I've already accepted offers for two of those players. So I'm expecting results to dip after selling these two players, unless I'm able to sign two key players. And if I do, I will let you know. But if I don't, I'll just go ahead with the season as it is. And well, we'll see how it goes at the end of the season. But so far, so good. The tactic seems to be working quite well. I'm going to probably work on selling this Uros Spajic. I love this guy's name. Wow. So guys, we're here at the end of the season. Well, it's towards the end anyway, 29th of May 2022, and then we can see currently we have won the league with Krasnodar using Daniel Farke's tactic, using Daniel Farke's philosophy with Krasnodar. We managed to win the league, but we have one game left. That's the Russian Cup against Zenit St. Petersburg, the final of the Russian Cup against Zenit St. Petersburg. So looking at the competition so far, we were winners of the Friendly Cup. I'm not aware of this competition anyway. Probably simulated during the window. And then the Russian Cup, okay, that's a standout game against Krasnodar. But we can see here the standout feature. Krasnodar actually had a goal difference of 41, and then the team that came second had a goal difference of 27. So we did score a lot of goals, a lot more than the team that came second, even though we won the league with just 3 points difference. Looking at the team stats, we can see that Krasnodar, like we just checked, had the most amount of goals, 65, with a high points per game as well, just 2.23 points per game. The highest possession went to Zenit St. Petersburg, so the tactic was not all that possession based. Although we had 51% possession, Zenit had 60, so I kind of wonder what they were doing with the ball all along, because depends, maybe that's why they managed to beat us. But looking at the least conceded, we had 24 goals conceded, as opposed to Spartak and Dynamo Moscow that scored 20 and 21 respectively. So altogether we did well, but there weren't any standout performance team-wise. We can see that, okay, we're at the average attendance, but the attendance doesn't really count, does it? Most net spends. Yeah, speaking of net spending, I actually did sell my 2 players. That's the right back and my central attacking midfielder. Speaking of signings and net transfer spend, we actually sold our 2 central midfielder, my central attacking midfielder and then my right back at the same time. If I can just recall who I sold them to, yes, Sergei Petrov and Remy Capella. Those are the 2 signings that I sent out, the 2 players that I sent out. They wanted to leave and they were quite old, so I was like, okay, I might as well let them go. But then I made 2 key signings to actually replace those 2 players. That's 1 attacking midfielder and 1 right back. So Luis Orejuela, I hope I pronounced his name well. Luis Orejuela is the 1 right back that I signed. He has good crossing ability. He's 26 years old, by the way. Good work rate as well. He was just standing there. My director for Bachi recommended this signing as well, so I did much more research on him, and he had, although being a wing back on defense duty, he actually got good crossing ability, so I could make him play as my complete wing back on attack duty. The second player I signed was Facundo Torres. Facundo Torres has a lot of fly. He's practically better than the player I sold. I've forgotten, Cabela. He's better than Cabela, and it's obviously going to be a money signing for me because I'm going to have to sell Facundo Torres much later in future, and just to take the money and then try and invest in the squad in other areas. But these are the 2 key signings that I made. And then looking at the player status to see how other players performed in this tactic. Jan Cordoba scored most of the goals. He scored how many? I can't really see. 24 goals, okay. He scored 24 goals, and then the most tackles were by Christian Ramirez. The tactic sort of dominated, but it worked really well for Krasnodar because at first we were predicted to finish 4th in the league, but then we ended up winning the league, losing only 3 games. Losing to Lokomotiv, Rubin Kazan, and Zenit St. Petersburg. So basically that's how the tactic planned out. And if you found this video quite useful, or you actually enjoyed this video and this content, remember to leave a like in the video down below, and also to subscribe to the channel because I do recreate tactics like this for teams that are not very famous in Europe. That's why I run DarkHorse FM anyway, and that's the way I enjoy playing Football Manager. Of course, I still visit the big teams like I mentioned before, but basically these are the guys that really interest me the most. So that's the summary of Krasnodar's tactic. And it's probably the way they would set up when Daniel Farke takes over because it's his philosophy we're testing out. So I'll catch you guys in the next video.